say beautiful today. Dave Oster.
Am I not bringing the beautiful today? I feel like I'm glowing up top a little bit. I got a little sun. I got to go outside.
You didn't unmute us, didn't you? All right. All right. You ready? Everybody gets to hear the wonderful clapping. All right. Hello and welcome to another edition of MVP Sports Live for the second time today. My name is Jake Neverman. I'm here with my beautiful co-host. Yes, he gets beautiful now. Dave Oster.
Damn right.
How we doing, Dave?
Doing good. You know, just continually wrapping up work for the day for the last 2 hours. Feels good, man.
Keep thinking you're done, and then you get thrown right back into it.
Exactly how it feels.
Sounds about right. I had about 2 hours of work to do today. It was a great day. I wish it was like that every day. Well, we have a great show for you today. We're gonna be talking about our award winners for this year's NBA season, as we only have about 6 games left, I think, for most teams. We're wrapping up. We're getting real close to the play-in tournament. Can't wait. And then we'll talk about the Golden State Warriors' best draft prospects, which should be an interesting segment because there's a couple different ways that the Warriors draft could go this year. Before we do that, got some housekeeping to take care of, and I know Dave isn't going to be able to mess it up this time, so I'll do it. We have if you want to join the best community in the world, !point Discord, or I believe it's in the link in the description of the YouTube videos. You're free to join. You can talk if you want to call us out on some of our takes, which is probably the most fun part of it, and I'll prove why you're wrong and I'm right. Join that community right there. !point Patreon, if you want to monetarily help us in any single way. Silver tier and above, you can get into those watch alongs. You can talk to us. You can hear our lovely voices, which, I mean, I don't know if everybody would consider them lovely, but maybe. YouTube.com. All of our podcasts go there afterwards, as we're live on twitch.tv every single day, usually around 5 Central, 6 Eastern. Games Live goes live. Not today because Soapy didn't sleep last night because he was playing Resident Evil all night. And then he went to work. So there's no Games Live tonight. And then MVP Sports Live usually follows that right after. We don't know the schedule for next week. There's going to be a lot of NBA now, I'm pretty sure, because the NFL draft season has passed, and now we get full NBA draft season.
You're also talking MLB with Ricky, Jake.
It's so this is the hard part. Like, we did MLB yesterday, but you only can do it once every couple weeks because there's
no. We got to have a daily MLB contribution. That's what I want out of you. That's
not happening. There's not a lot that happens in the MLB, and now we're going to be moving into the playoffs in the NBA. We're going to be getting towards the play-in. We talk about LeBron bitching every now and then we're going to be straight
on his own bench for a couple games. Where is LeBron?
Yeah, and then they were getting killed last night. Anthony Davis all of a sudden had back spasms.
He fell into the back board.
Luckily, as soon as it's weird that as soon as they went down 20 or 30, LeBron went out the game prior, and then 20 or 30 last night, Anthony Davis went out. I'm just saying, man, it's a little bit suspicious. All right. Well, with that, we won't speculate on that. Hopefully that both LeBron and AD get healthy so that the GOAT can get another ring. We're going to move into our first segment of the day. It's going to be a fun one. NBA awards, we're at that point. So what we're going to do is we're going to do MVP, Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, First Team All-Defense, First Team All-NBA, and Second Team All-NBA. We're not going to do Most Improved because, Dave, I'm pretty sure you and I both agree pretty easily it's going to be Julius Randle. It's deserved it. Earlier in the year was Jeremy Grant, I believe, and now it's Julius Randle. They've ascended. They were like 12-2 in their last 14. They've ascended to the 4 seed. They're incredible from the Knicks.
No, they're putting in a phenomenal performance in the right order. There's no real case to be made for anyone else really at this point in the season. You're right, Jeremy Grant. After his injury, like he's outie. He's outie. Julius Randle's playing 45 minutes a night. No one's going to catch up to those flat stats.
No, not even close. So we'll move into the first part. The first discussion is going to be on the most valuable player in the NBA this year. So I'm going to go first on this one. So I'm going to make my case. I think we're going to agree. It's going to be Nikola Jokic. We're both going to pick. We're going to pick. Just let me.
Joel Embiid's fanboy number one.
Let me explain. Nikola Jokic is going to win MVP. Is he the most valuable player that stayed healthy? Yes. If Joel Embiid had stayed healthy and not had that knee scare and missed a few weeks, I would be sitting here right now with the Sixers in the 1 seed in the East saying that Joel Embiid is the MVP. But since Nikola Jokic is going to get the charity one this year, he's been great. He's been phenomenal. The Nuggets, even with Jamal Murray going out, I think they've won 9 of 10 since he went out. Nikola Jokic is it's pretty spectacular what we're seeing with the big men, because we were told a few years ago that the big man was dead and that there was no big man and that people need to stop taking centers in the top 5. Well, now Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic are both on pace to probably be top 10 centers of all time. They've been incredible. Nikola Jokic is on pace to be a top 25 player. It's here's the part that I love is that Sean and I would sit here and have debates every single podcast on Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. And we were DMing the other day. And you know what we said to each other? God damn, we both pick good players. Because, there's been some debates, useless debates on this show, about crap players.
Remember when he picked Karl Anthony Towns?
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember when he thought Karl Anthony Towns was a better player?
Yeah, I do remember that. That was, no.
Just remind him of that next time.
Yeah, but it's spectacular. What Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic have done to revive the big man game in the NBA has been spectacular. I don't know if you have anything to add with.
Not revived. Revolutionized.
Yeah.
They revolutionized position. It's no longer the traditional back to the basket, power basketball going through the low post. What they do is so different than what the old centers of, the 80s, the 90s, even the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Really, it's a different fucking game entirely coming out of them. So I think that's what has made this so interesting is we're seeing things out of 7-footers that we've never seen before the last 5 years. Jokic has such a passing touch. He has great court vision, and he has creativity. He has enough footwork to make it work and to cook guys in the paint. It's hilarious watching his face-up game.
Yeah.
And Embiid, I mean, the man can do fucking anything from anywhere, and he has the confidence and bravado to play it off. So, it's so hard not to fall in love with players like this, and I think both of them have had excellent seasons, but I don't think it's as close as you're making it out to be. I don't think those 2 weeks of knee scares are really...
It was longer than 2 weeks, but okay, come on.
I don't think that's really the story here. I think the fact that Nikola Jokic is the advanced stats monster. I mean, every metric under the sun. I would even make the case that he would qualify for most improved player and should win most improved player for what he's doing. And with the stats he'll finish the season on, especially with Jamal Murray out, his scoring numbers with Jamal Murray out allowed, even prior to his injury, were hilarious. Like he would be putting up, 28, 11 and 11 or something ridiculous like that. And now he's doing that full time with him out and still carrying a team, still leading them to a top spot in the West, which is dramatically more difficult than the East. I think that what he's done, it's incredible. And when you do, because Julius Randle plays so many more minutes than him, you have to kind of level that out somewhere at the per 36 value. And Jokic year-over-year improvement is more, in my mind, than what we've seen out of Julius Randle. Julius Randle is an extension of him getting more minutes and him growing his three-point shot and the defense under Tom Thibodeau. It's a lot. I'm not taking anything away from Julius Randle, but I do think that it's kind of like that Giannis moment where Giannis's first MVP, we're looking at, we're like, how much fucking better did he get since last? He could win MIP 2 years in a row. That was almost the thought. It's these guys just take it to a new level, and I think that congrats Julius Randle, congrats to the Knicks for everything they've done this year. But I mean, Jokic is just in his own fucking category these days.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think he's been beyond phenomenal. Another most improved player candidate would be Michael Porter Jr., who plays for the same team. I remember when we were talking, but there were reports after last season that Mike Malone might have been let go from the coaching the Nuggets. And I was like, if Mike Malone is let go, this is when the Sixers did not have a coach. I was like, if he is let go, that should be number one priority for any team that needs a coach is to get Mike Malone because he gets the best out of most of his players. I mean, they signed Campazzo, and then look at him this season. He's nobody would have thought.
We knew. Okay. So
there you go.
Fadro was good. He was good in Europe. We all knew that. How much of a role he would play on this team, I don't think anybody expected him to step into that larger role. Yeah. Obviously, injuries, situational. But at the same time, Malone, he got so much heat for not playing MPJ early in his career, for being patient, for not letting him have free reign and being a chucker. I think that he doesn't get enough credit for his progression and making sure that he didn't get bad habits, making sure that, hey, you fuck up, back on the bench, buddy. I don't give a shit who you are. Mm-hmm. We're not playing that game. And I think that that's helped MPJ with his shot selection. And now he is lethal, absolutely lethal. I mean, he gets the best catch and shoot looks in the NBA, but it's still on him to make them. And he is doing it at an incredible true shooting rate.
All right, next award. I'm gonna let you go first on this one. I think this might be there's probably 3 candidates for this one. I think 3 candidates for this one. It's gonna be Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Who would you go with?
There's one right answer, and it's Steve Nash. I don't know how you don't give Coach of the Year to Steve Nash.
That wasn't even one of the people I considered.
No, I'm sorry. He is.
I had Monty Williams, Doc Rivers, and Quinn Snyder. It's a record-based award. It is not who you think is the best coach in the year. It is a record-based award.
I'm giving it to Steve Nash out of the fact that what he's doing with one of 3 All-Stars at any given moment in time on a roster, and he's rotating them through, playing them, working with them through their injuries, through their time away from the team for unknown reasons. What he's done as a coach, I think, is exemplary. He's gotten the most out of his second unit guys, a bunch of role players, really, and turn them into guys who can play high minutes in critical time for them. I don't think people Jake, your boy Larry Shamit.
Larry Shamit.
My brain just died. Why did I say Larry?
TLC and okay. Well, I'm gonna go to my point after that. I hear everything you said. Oh, it's already went off the rails. I picked Doc Rivers. The reason I picked Doc Rivers is the point that I'm gonna let your Larry go. Larry Sanders is no longer in the league. All right, it's not Landry
Shamit. Landry
Shamit.
He's been incredible the last month of the year. He worked with him throughout the whole year. Joe Harris is shooting true shooting percentage that's up there with all time. Like he's having an all time season from 3. No one's talking about it because he's playing along all time NBA talent. Like it's incredible what he's getting. Oh, guess what? By the way, they're also flipping guys over into positions where like they're able to thrive, even though they've been washed away from their other teams. I think that's yes, he is a rookie head coach. Yes, he has one of the best head coaches sitting next to him on the bench.
I was gonna say that was my next point. He
has training wheels. I'm not going to argue that, but at the same time, I really respect what he's done with that offense and the way that they've come together as a team. Because I think a lot of the egos out there, we all assumed there's no way that these 3 guys are going to want to play with each other for more than a year. And right now, it looks like they're all meshing really well.
Yeah. So, and I know people are going to hit me with the homer picks, but the Sixers have been one of the best teams in the NBA this season, bar none. Doc Rivers and you speak about getting the most out of players. We've seen players this year under Doc Rivers grow and flourish. I remember before the year started, I was huge on Shake Milton's progression. He's been hot and cold this year, but he's been fantastic when he's been, for the most part. He's had some rough stretches, but most scorers do. We talked about Joel Embiid taking a big jump under Doc Rivers. Guess what? That happened. We talked about Ben Simmons becoming more, the shot. Well,
Seth Curry, best Curry.
Seth Curry, best Curry. Danny Green has been getting the most of his looks. We're talking about Furkan Korkmaz, who's drastically improved defensively, which is a huge step up this season. We've talked about Matisse Thybulle becoming. We'll talk about Matisse Thybulle later in one of the awards. We'll talk about him. I mean, and you've talked about Dwight Howard, and Doc Rivers has coached this team from. Last year, we looked like we had no hope in that one of Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid was going to go. And yes, Daryl Morey takes huge credit for what this team did. He turned a team that had no shooting and no spacing and absolutely one of the deadliest, like one of the most efficient three-point shooting teams, but they don't take, in the beginning of the season, they weren't taking enough threes. Now they seem like they are. I mean, he's just...
That's it. The guy you didn't mention, Tobias Harris.
I was going to get to Tobias Harris. I was going to get...
Kicked the doors down to start the season. He was by far the best wing in the NBA for like a solid month to start the year. Yeah. His shooting splits are still amazing.
He was dealing with a bone bruise, and now he's finally getting back to where he was at the beginning of the season. It's just the Sixers are playing some of their best ball down the stretch here, and they're one of the few, knock on wood, healthy teams in the NBA right now. Doc Rivers, if the Sixers finish off the 1 seed, that's the big thing. If they finish off the 1 seed, I think he's the coach of the year, bar none. I understand Steve Nash. I could see if they give it to Monty Williams if they get the 1 seed. I completely understand that. Yeah, I completely understand. It is a record-based award, and 9 times out of 10, the number 1 seed from each conference, one of the conferences wins the coach of the year. That is what happens.
What are you crediting Monty Williams for on this?
Nothing. It's Chris Paul. If you want to give it to somebody in the Suns, it's probably Chris Paul.
I literally have Steve Nash / Chris Paul. Literally written on my sheet.
I agree. And earlier in the year, it was bar none. It was Quinn Snyder, and then that kind of regressed a little bit because Donovan Mitchell went down, and they definitely became a slightly worse team without Donovan Mitchell. Fell out of the 1 seed.
Joe Ingles happens to be a legendary shooter.
He's so
I think he leads the league in true shooting percentage somewhere in like the 78, 78% or something true, like just broken numbers. Incredibly smart player, facilitator. Like he's never greedy, and I think that's why he has the true shooting he has. Is he doesn't take a bad shot. But yeah, no, I mean like that is I almost think that Donovan Mitchell going down proves a point,
Yeah,
and that to me is
might talk about him later.
might not talk about him later.
Might not, but might.
That's my point. Is I think that maybe he doesn't play, and people think.
That's.
I think that this is team basketball, and I think that there's a difference.
I'm here for Donovan Mitchell slander.
Okay.
All right?
I can't wait. But yeah, that's why I can't go with Monty. I don't like. We've seen what Chris Paul did for the Thunder, and that's exactly why I can't give Monty any credit for what's going on with this Suns team. I can't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I can see it. The next award we're going to look to, I don't know if there will be that much pushback on this. There might because it's the second half of the season, but it's Rookie of the Year. I have LaMelo Ball still.
Both love the same person.
Okay. I was just making sure because some people are saying Anthony Edwards with how well he's played the second half of the season, and LaMelo missed some time. It's still LaMelo Ball. His team's in the playoffs. Largely, I know they played about 500 balls since he's been out. They were playing pretty well, but early in the season, LaMelo Ball was elevating that team to another level. They were on a different level. His ball distribution, the way he made Miles Bridges has become a good player.
I was literally going to bring up. He saved Miles Bridges' fucking career.
Literally. And this team has no center, and LaMelo Ball is making Bismack Biyombo actually somewhat suitable on this offense because of how he's able to pass into space and how he's able to work the pick and roll with Bismack.
Miles Bridges shooting in the paint has gone up so much. His 2-point percentage from last year, 42%. 2-point from this year. I'm sorry. Let me wrap that back a little bit. It was 48% from 2. This year, 59. He literally got 11% better from inside the arc.
I mean, and 90% of their lobs.
If you look look at the finishing in the paint, incredible. You know why? He has a legendary facilitator.
Hey, just do this.
Just I can't help but say I don't know why people wanted to shit on this kid. He's been playing against bigger
shooting percentages, Dave.
He was 12.
Shooting percentages, Dave. That was literally the only argument last year is that he didn't shoot well in the Australian league.
I do not get why people get paid to do what so many people saw plainly.
Yep. It's Luka again. It's international prospects. Yes. People. It's going to happen with Josh Giddey this year. We'll talk about him later. Yep. It's going to happen with Josh Giddey again this year. International prospects get knocked down because of the leagues they play in. It makes no sense.
I think that we're right though. As far as the order, I agree. LaMelo's 1. Anthony Edwards is 2. His second half of the year only pales to what Trae Young did previously with his second half of the year. I mean, just he found his groove. And as a whole, I don't even want to say it was on him. A lot of this problem goes back to the Timberwolves, the healthy organization, the coaching situation there.
They've been a lot better.
He has been a lot better.
They're actually using him as an offensive initiator now instead of sticking him in the corner and being like, because under Saunders. Yeah, under Saunders, he was a fourth option on the offense as a bailout corner shooter. And now under I can't think of his name for some reason. The new Timberwolves regime, that's what we'll go with. He's actually being like Cat and him are actually being used as offensive initiators, and so is D'Lo. D'Lo's also been incredible. He came up he's been incredible. I'm actually very excited to see the Timberwolves with a high if they get their pick this year.
Bring out McDaniels.
McDaniels defensively has been a stud. Why can't I think of one player on their team? Why can't I think of his name? Vanderbilt. He has been. I mean, he gave Joel Embiid problems that I hadn't seen other centers give him before. Like when he would get switched on Embiid, he actually like terrorized him. He's incredible defensively.
They're an incredibly spooky team. They're back to spooky again, boys.
People were like, I know people want to write off the Timberwolves and be like, they're going to trade Cam. Like, no, they're not. They're going to go at it next year. Hopefully they get their pick. If you can get Cade Cunningham on this team, they are a near playoff team next year. And I'll make that assumption right now. If they get Cade, they are a playoff team or playoff contender next year. As long as health obviously abides, that team would be incredible.
I think clear cut for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
In both our minds. Number 3 on the board for Rookie of the Year. Halliburton or Jayshawn Tate?
Oh, see, I had Tate 5. Halliburton would be 3 for me. Okay. Sadiq Bey would be 4. And then I had Jayshawn Tate 5.
Very good.
I love
the problem is Tate and what's his face? Sadiq Bey are both on terrible teams.
Exactly. So you can intertwine. You can intertwine.
That's the thing. Like Sadiq Bey has delivered on the next level for shooting. That's exactly why he was brought in. His defense isn't as bad as it was advertised or was concerned about.
It's
So I
getting
think
better.
that's a massive win. But at the same time, I fall in love with the Jayshawn Tate story
I
and
know.
how he worked his way. He grinded his way to the NBA. And again, not a draft pick from this year, but technically qualifies as a rookie candidate. And the work he's put in, he's basically replaced PJ Tucker and then some on the offensive side. On the defensive side, he's good. He's not PJ Tucker elite, but he is very good and he is getting better. And I think that's like, it blows my fucking mind.
I
Very close to top.
I just want to respond to Twitch chat. It's that Mad Rogue said if they take Cade, it's a lot of backcourt. I think D'Lo and Anthony Edwards more act as wings anyways at their best. So if getting Cade on that team would be. It's not a draft segment. Just want to say, Timberwolves. Good lord. Next player, Dave. This is going to be fun. It's Defensive Player of the Year.
There's one choice.
There's not one choice.
There's one choice. It's Rudy Gobert, and it's not even close.
No, it's Ben Simmons.
Okay. I will admit that Ben Simmons' versatility gives him something that Rudy doesn't have.
Mhm.
But Rudy Gobert is the anchor of the best team in the Western Conference, and he's the best player on the best
They're
team.
not the best team anymore, so.
They're there?
I think the Suns are the ones, aren't they?
As of today, I believe it's the Jazz.
Oh, the Suns just lost to
the
Hawks, right? They just got blown up by the Hawks or something like that.
They did lose the game yesterday. Jazz are on a 3-game win streak right now, according to Google. Fact check that, Jake.
I'm not fact checking it. All I'm going to say is Ben Simmons' versatility, and you can see when he was out over the past 2 weeks ago, when the Sixers went 0-4 and they had the worst defensive rating of their entire season.
True.
He comes back.
What happens when Ben's there and Joe's out? That's I think the evidence to my side of as good of a defender as Ben Simmons is, and maybe this is a problem with the award. Like he's not good enough to carry a team. That's because positionally, as a 1 through 4 defender, you can't shut down another team the same way that a rim protector can.
Agreed.
So I think that's why, in my mind, the credence of Gobert being the defensive stalwart, defensive player of the year for the umpteenth time, I can't get past his contribution to his entire team because, like you said, even without Donovan Mitchell there, they're still winning games. They're still the best team in the Western Conference. Yeah. And I think that falls on his shoulders. Yes, the offensive production comes from elsewhere, but what his impact is on the court is so incredible that I have to give him the nod. I love Ben Simmons.
I get it.
1 through 5 defender, yes.
1 through 5. I think Ben Simmons, and this is why, is the best defender in the NBA.
Perhaps.
Gobert may be the most impactful defender in the NBA. That is the difference in the award.
I asked for things up,
That is the difference in the award and how you grade it. I think the Sixers have looked like it's the most interesting part of the Sixers in transition in their defense has been terrible without Ben Simmons. He comes back. He's been a freak. I mean, we kind of have to skip over to get a longer conversation on the next couple awards, but it's how you view the Defensive Player of the Year. I think there's 2 ways to look at it: best, most impactful.
Yeah.
There is a case if Embiid would have stayed healthy, there would have been a case that you could talk about Embiid. It's just it won't happen now because he missed too many games. So let's start with first team all defense because we were having a discussion about this and you did not know who to go with. I thought there was 4 locks, so I want to hear your team first.
So I start off with the easy answer. I go Ben and Gobert are the 2 absolute locks in my mind.
Guard, and center. So those are your.
I think that there's a case to be made that Matisse Thybulle should be on there. I think there's a case to be made that Kawhi Leonard should be there.
Okay.
Now the final spot is where I'm having trouble because I'm between 2 guys and one's obviously a guard or a wing and one is.
You want me to go? You want to see who are your?
Drew or Miles Turner.
Oh.
I don't know which to go with because I think Miles Turner. I love to shit on this man.
Okay, I didn't know.
But at the same time, I think that he had you can't ignore his block numbers. And I know defense isn't just block numbers, and I think that might be my problem. Is watching this team now without him looks hilarious. They're giving up 150 a night, Jake. Like, that's what. Drew Holiday feels like he went from underrated to overrated to underrated. Now he's incredibly overrated.
I said at the beginning of the year that Drew Holiday has become so underrated that he's overrated at this point.
Yes.
He's a very good player. He's just not he's not a number 2 in a championship team. Sorry, he's never going to be.
Is he a lockdown defender? Sometimes. Did KPJ putting up 50 on him?
Did you see the quote that KPJ
I
said?
see that
I had
quote.
him sliding all over the court, and the guy was like, "Gotta end the."
Yes,
So
and that. It hurts when you had that
you didn't
visualization, that pop-off game against you.
didn't even mention one of my locks. I'm kind of shocked right now.
Who is one of your
Okay,
locks?
so I'll give you my team. I'll give you my team first. Ben and Gobert, clearly. I
Yes.
have Thibault as the other guard, so Ben and Thibault as a guard, Kawhi as a forward,
Okay,
and
so we got 4 for 4 there.
I have one forward left, and it's Draymond Green.
Oh.
Draymond Green has been incredible defensively the last 2 months. The reason and what?
I didn't even think about that.
He's been incredible.
Yeah.
The Warriors team is very much down to Steph Curry being
Mm-hmm.
incredible as he is, and we'll talk about him later. But Draymond Green has been a stalwart on this defense on a team that is not built to be good defensively, especially earlier in the year when Draymond Green was making up for James Wiseman's inability defensively. Draymond Green has literally been taking the best player on the other team and being like, I got him for the entire game and shutting them down.
Wiggins also. I think you got to give some credit to Wiggins and the career resurrection.
Yes, I just think that Draymond Green has gone so under the radar this year.
Yes.
But he has been incredible. His assist numbers, he had 17 assists earlier in a game this year. Yep. It's Russell Westbrook-esque numbers. He's a defensive stalwart. He's still one of the best defenders in the NBA, even though people don't talk about him because the Warriors aren't as good now, and people love to hate on Draymond. I get it.
He does kick people in the balls intentionally. It's very hard to pass that. I understand.
I get it, but he is still one of the best and one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA. So I think that I thought the 4 locks were him, Gobert, Kawhi, and Ben, and I threw Thibault in there because the minutes are the only question mark with Thibault. But his numbers defensively,
it's disgusting.
His block percentage is the highest of any guard in NBA history in a season. He literally played 5 minutes 2 days ago, and he had 2 points, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 5 minutes. And the game that they won in overtime, I can't remember who was against for some reason. Like they had a wide open shot, and you're like, oh, that's wide open. And then you see Matisse Thybulle coming from behind and just swatting the ball as he's shooting, and you're like, okay, I guess he's not wide open. It's like Matisse Thybulle just makes these plays that like, oh wow, wide open corner. Nope, never mind, it got blocked. It's just like him and Ben Simmons together is ridiculous defensively.
It does seem a little unfair.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to first team All NBA, Dave.
It's clear cut. I don't know how there's going to be any dissension among the ranks here, because I think it is very clearly Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Giannis, Joel Embiid, and Jokic.
We agree. Wow. Okay.
I think
the only argument is this: there's gonna be one player that'll come up on second team. But just move on to your second team. We'll talk about them as a whole. Because second team I struggled with. There was a lot of players that are in and out.
Sure. My second team is James Harden.
Yes.
CP3.
Ooh.
LeBron James, Paul George, Rudy Gobert.
Okay. So I had Harden, Kawhi, PG, and Gobert. The only difference is I had Damian Lillard at point guard.
I considered Damian Lillard, but I had to include team success as far as what they've done. And Chris Paul, as runner-up to Coach of the Year, I think deserves to be second-team All-NBA.
Well, yeah, and I think that's true. I think the big talking point on All-NBA teams is that Pandemic P, as some people have talked about him, seemed to only come out, the haters, once he has a bad game. He's had a stretch of about 2 months now where he's played well in 95% of his games, and they only come out at the 5%. His numbers have been unreal this year. He's been amazing defensively. He was somebody I considered for first team all defense. Him and Kawhi, both of them. Yes. They are the Clippers. I think it's very funny that people want to be like, well, I don't want to bet on the Clippers because they have bad luck in the playoffs. I'm like, I get that, but they're the best team in the West if they are healthy. Nobody wants to see a Clippers team that is fully healthy in the playoffs.
Especially with the addition of Rajon Rondo
and Boogie. Boogie's like good. It's like, holy shit, Boogie. I looked at the stats at halftime the other day. He was 5 for 6 with 11 points or something like that. I'm like, oh, wow, look, Boogie can still score when you get him under the basket.
I'm just saying it feels good to be right, Jake. It feels good to be right. I can't do that enough because I love myself a lot, but like, Rajon Rondo and Boogie just leading the Clippers.
We knew Rondo. Like, I love when people were like, that Rondo trade, oh, that's a bad trade, trading Lou Williams. Like, this is literally why they got Luke Kennard, so they can move Lou Williams for a point guard. And we've said since they signed PG and Kawhi, they need a playmaking point guard to make this team better. And now Rondo's seamlessly fitting in, and he looks amazing. Oh wow, he's a playmaking point guard. Isn't that a wild thing?
Like he's another coach on the court because he's smarter than 90% of the coaches in the NBA. Also, he has championship experience at both ends of his career, so he knows how to fit in onto a team. He's coming off of what was the third best player on the championship team in the Mickey Mouse fucking championship, and the Lakers let him and Dwight walk, which looks like a huge fucking failure.
And traded Danny Green,
all of that. Different topic for different day, but the point is not to be underestimated on that team. And I agree with you. Paul George, as far as his public whatever, yeah, he's back to being Paul George again in my mind. I don't think that you really have a case to make the pandemic P thing. Obviously, when playoffs happen, when the fourth quarter comes down to it, will he be able to deliver? That's the next question we need answered. But until then, I'm not questioning this man one bit. He's phenomenal.
And the thing is that while he has to be good in the fourth quarter, it doesn't have to be great, because if people want to forget about Kawhi Leonard on the Raptors, what he did, it still hurts what he did, okay? People just want to forget that he's one of the clutchest players. Okay, don't do that. It was rigged. Adolph Silver put magnets on the rim, we know.
Bounce.
Yeah, so, and how, okay, listen, side topic. How did that shot go in, and then the one that Embiid shot full court, that bounced and like literally went down in the rim and then came out? How does that, okay, rigged. It's just incredible what somebody, and Dame or CP3, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. It's the only disagreement we have. Harden, okay, here's where the question comes, because Harden might not meet the threshold of 70% games if he misses the regular season, rest of the regular season, which he said he's coming back. Yeah. The question is he? If you had to take Harden out and stick another guard in, who would it be?
I would move Dame up. Okay. And then I would fill in on my third team. Kyrie Irving. I think that because Dame and Kyrie Irving were very close in my mind. Obviously, Dame gets the nod because of the games played and a little bit more consistency in the day-to-day with the what are you working with category. Yeah. Like, obviously, he's being asked to do a little bit different than what Kyrie is. So that's why, yeah, if Harden doesn't make the clip, I would literally take his teammate and just yoink him up. I'm sorry, I would take Dame, bring him up, and then put in Kyrie on third team.
I think, I'd basically do the same thing. I'd bring CP3 up if did you make a third? I didn't make a third.
I did. Yeah.
Let's hear your third. I'll react to your third team then.
Sure. My third team is Dame, Westbrook, Kawhi, Randall, Zion. I think
Randall and Zion were the two that I was wrestling with my forwards. With Gobert.
Yeah, I have a problem putting Zion in here. I'll be honest. He's the guy who does not fit in my mind. All of these other guys have a season worth of success, and their team record shows it. Meanwhile, Zion is the guy who his individual numbers are jaw-dropping.
It's ridiculous.
But you can't ignore the fact that this team is a sad sack of fucking losers. And I say that with love. I am the biggest BI lover. You guys all know it. But the problem is when you look around the league and you go, okay, find me a center or a power forward who fits the next best up.
Yeah.
And I don't know outside of, and again, asterisk, to Clint Capella. I think that would be the next guy out in my mind for who would fill that role. And I don't know if I'm way off base here or whatever you think. I would love to hear that, because I think Capella's slightly better than Bam as far as team contribution right now.
Yeah.
Bam missed chunks of the season, obviously, so is Capella. But, like, this Hawks team has been on a heater, and Bam has been on a team that's struggled throughout the whole season. Obviously, both teams, different situations. But I think if any team can argue about injuries, it's the Hawks. Like, the Hawks literally missed 70% of the roster for 70% of the year.
Yeah, and talking about Julius Randle, you had in your All-NBA team. I said before the podcast, like, isn't it so ironic the only team one of the only teams not affected by a major injury is a Tom Thibodeau coach team?
It doesn't make sense.
It literally just makes
year one. By year 3, this will be the walking fucking wounded.
Yeah, it depends who's on the team at that point.
Yeah, sure.
I don't really think. I think for most of the awards, they're cut dry. I think there's a couple.
Westbrook's the only one who might edge into second team in my mind. Yeah, that's the only one, because he's obviously breaking the record this weekend. Mm-hmm. He'll tie it his next game, I think, on Saturday, and then I think he'll break it on Monday, maybe.
Isn't it wild that when Westbrook isn't an inefficient chucker, he's a good basketball player and his team wins? Like yesterday, they went to overtime with the Raptors and almost lost because he was 5 for 19 shooting, and he was 1 for 6 or 3. If Westbrook, I'd love to see the stats. If Westbrook shoots 2 or less threes, I would basically guarantee their record is way better than when he shoots 3 or more.
Probably.
It just comes like that's what comes to mind when I look at them. But that'll do it for the award segment. I know Ricky's not at his computer right now, so the graphic won't change under us. But we are going to move on to the Golden State Warriors draft. It is NBA draft season. It's finally here. The football draft is over. Peyton Turner's a Saint. Yeah, I know. Cry, cry, cry. Justin Fields is a bear, Dave.
Getting that number 1 jersey.
I am going to get a number 1 Justin Fields jersey. It'll be my first and last ever Bears own jersey, most likely.
Ooh, you might need to get me one of those 2 then.
Okay. So the Warriors have. Let me pull it up here. I know they have the Timberwolves pick that is top 3 protected. So if it falls outside the top 3, they will get that. And I believe they also own the Thunder pick, which is top 20 protected, but they're not going to. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Thunder have the Warriors pick that is top 20 protected. So the Warriors will probably end up with 2 first-round picks. And yeah, they will. There's no way they don't. And then they own a few second rounds. I'm not going into the details. We'll talk about second-round prospects. So they can't end up in the top 3. So we cannot have our boring and dull discussion of hit the wall, Dave. They aren't going to get Cade Cunningham. Sorry. No. It's literally not. Oh, it still is possible if they lose out in the play-in tournament and they end up at 13 or 14. Still possible there.
I guess so, yeah.
Not going to talk about it, though, because if that happens, we'll talk about it in a later segment. We're going to stay outside the top 3. We're actually going to be able to have interesting discussions about where they could end up. So they could end up at 4. And we're going to go with our consensus. Our consensus is the first 3 off the board will be Mobley, Green, and Cade. Those are the consensus 3. Agreed. So if they're sitting there at 4, Suggs is going to be there. I don't know if we really need to talk about it much because do they just take Suggs?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I
thought.
No
questions asked, they take Suggs. He's the perfect complement. They can go 3 wide at the guard position. Yep. Perfect.
That's not even a discussion. We're going to skip over that because I believe we both agree. Suggs is a great prospect. He actually has wing flexibility, which people don't really talk about. He has the ability to play off ball or he can play on ball. And Steph is one of the best off ball players in the NBA, if not the best. He probably is the best off ball NBA player.
Yeah.
So it has to pick. We'll go like every 3 picks. So if they fall to number 5, this is where it gets interesting because if they fall to number 5, Suggs is gone. That's what we're going to go with.
Yep.
This is where it's interesting because some people are high in Kuminga. I think we both feel the same way. We've kind of fallen off a little bit. I don't know if we haven't talked in about a month and a half about draft prospects. So I've fallen off of Kuminga. I've stayed off of him. I think he's around 8 on my board. So where would you look at 5?
I agree with that sentiment. I think that Kuminga doesn't fit this team's timeline. They're trying to win and win now. And I think that if you take Kuminga, it's only because you are drafting him to trade him along with another piece towards something better, towards something more ready.
If you're taking like the best available to trade, that's what. Yeah,
that would be the only reason they're doing that, and they'd have something lined up in my mind.
They probably wouldn't take the pick. They'd probably already trade it.
They would trade it. Yep. That's a good point. In my mind, it's an interesting situation because I go, okay, do they go for NBA ready or raw prospect here? Because I think if you want a guy who would be there for the long term, who has perhaps the most upside, you might think Scotty Barnes. You might think that you could take someone who could learn under the tutelage of Draymond Green and literally take over the mantle at a fraction of the cost. Now, that contract situation is kind of, I guess, long-term at this point because it's 2 years out, right?
Yeah.
So
somewhere in there.
I don't know if it needs to be done here. He's not going to start day 1. He would be an excellent bench piece for them, but I don't know, again, how quickly he would help them out. The problem is, like, what do you want on this team? I want insurance for either Clay or Steph. You want one of those 2 guys to be able to, either not have to play every night for 40 minutes to win games, or I guess you're hoping that you have another wing because I don't think Kelly Oubre is the guy.
So what you're saying, Dave, is they need somebody.
Giddy.
So let me they need somebody who has wing tendencies, but can also be a primary ball handler and can shoot and can facilitate and can drive and is somewhat NBA ready and has a ridiculously high ceiling. Who would that be, Dave? Oh yeah, Josh Giddey, who's now number 4 on my board. If nobody, we haven't done a big board. He's jumped Jalen Suggs on my board, so he is. I mean, I can't say enough about Josh Giddey. Really, his athleticism is pretty good. It's definitely it's not. He's not the most athletic person in the world, but he's not Cade Cunningham in terms of burst. He actually has some first step speed.
He has first step,
yeah, he has first step speed. And he has the ability, and his shooting improved as his year went on in Australia. If you have not watched Josh Giddey tape, please watch Josh Giddey tape, because he has literally, his defense is going to be the only somewhat question mark going in the NBA. But playing on a team like the Warriors, who have been able to make subpar defenders average or even above average, is a huge part of going to a team like the Golden State Warriors and being able to learn and, I guess, grow from guys like Draymond and Clay. The big thing is with the Warriors, and I think you nailed it, is that this team is going to be an NBA title contender next year if Clay is healthy.
100%.
They're going to have Clay back. They're going to have Wiseman back. They're going to have Wiggins back. They'll probably lose Oubre, is what is the rumor. I think right now is that they'll probably lose them. But this team has enough depth where they're able. The talent identification that this front office has is one of the best in the NBA. Like Toscano Anderson came in when nobody really like we knew about him. Like he was good, and he's turned into a very, very solid role player for them. That's just what this team does time in and time out. They did it with Landry Barbosa back when they won a title, or Sean Livingston. They were one of the only teams that took a flyer on him. So they clearly know how to identify bench pieces. Yes. Josh Giddey is a guy who literally could step in and start. He probably wouldn't with this team because their lineup next year is pretty set. It's going to be Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Wiseman. That's probably what's going to be the starting lineup as long as everybody's healthy. Hopefully Clay gets healthy. And people who are
stays on this level, because that's the other guy who might be on the move.
Yeah.
There are a lot of talks about him being moved this year. Obviously, there's no rush, and I think that he's thrived playing for the Warriors, and they really appreciate his consistency on the floor.
Well, if he gets moved, it's going to be for a stud. It's not they're going to probably move him and picks to get somebody better. So then that disintegrates that whole conversation. But right now, I'm going to assume he's going to stay with how well he's played, unless they want to sell high on him. I mean, Josh Giddey is. There's not much left to say. I've said it. Eventually we're gonna do a big board. And we're gonna talk strictly on players, and we'll be able to get Josh Giddey is just incredible. Watch his tape. Somebody else, you already mentioned Scotty Barnes. I mean, Jalen Johnson would be a very good fit. Just another basically prototypical wing that steps into the NBA and has good potential. I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar, but him being able to be a very solid bench piece right away is a huge bonus. Do you want to stop me?
I do want to stop you because I think that Jalen Johnson's more of a risk. Obviously, his off the court shenanigans, his maturity is a big question here. And that's some shit that usually doesn't fly around Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr's tendencies are to go for older, he likes older players who know their shit rather than like Wiseman, who had no offseason, obviously, this year, really came into the NBA, with very little prep, and it showed. And man, their team was so much worse with him on the court. Like it was, I mean, I shouldn't say, if the guy should have gotten benched about 1 billion more times than he did, but he did not deserve to be playing on that court for a lot of that year. And again, you would like to be able to play your top pick, one of the top picks in the NBA draft, more than that, but like he was not NBA ready. He doesn't understand the game. The game speed is too fast for him right now.
He's a
selfish player. Yeah, there's a lot of things that they need to teach him. So I think that like taking someone who has similar, if not, worse, perhaps character concerns, I think that's not likely in my mind. I think they would prefer to go with someone maybe in the vein of like a Moses Moody.
That was the next guy I was going to mention.
Yeah. I think Moses Moody, kind of a do-it-all wing with great upside, would be a great fit on this team because he can step in day one and be able to contribute. And he's a secondary ball handle off the bench for them. Worst case scenario, like I really think that would be like if you're stuck in that like middle section from that Timberwolves pick falling down.
Yeah, let's say like you're in like 7 to 10 now, because if we're sitting at 5,
we'll win a couple games, sure, but
yeah. I don't know how far they can fall back. Is
4 spots they can only fall 4 spots back. Right? Let me reset this.
Where are the Timberwolves now?
So Timberwolves are at 3, so the furthest they can go back is like 7.
So we're 5. So Chicago Bulls. So we're 5. But yeah, the Bulls are gonna. It's not possible this year, but we know the Bulls are gonna get 7, right?
No, the Bulls are gonna get up to 1 through 3. We will have our pick.
Okay, good.
Multiple worlds here, man.
Good optimism. Levine and them are gonna come back and win some games here at the end of the year. They already did. They already started. So yeah, the start of So we'll get five. We kind of talked about, is Corey Kispert a chance here? Is he a shout? Because I'm not high on him. I don't think you're high on him, but is he a chance to go here? Is the problem, right?
Yeah, I will admit he's a chance to go here. He's someone who NBA level talent on the shooting side. He contributes from the outside. He stretches the floor. People have to respect his shot coming into the NBA. He's such a lethal shooter. He's got good size. I don't think he's as unathletic as people would like to make him out to be. It seems so short-sighted, in my opinion, to take someone who has, and maybe I'm being the asshole here and I'm narrowing his future prospects down to being Joe Harris, but like, I don't know that I would take someone if I had a shot this high in the draft. Why would I take someone who has such a low ceiling? In my opinion?
This is I have to say why I was smiling looking at my phone is that the Yankees just hit a home run where the expected batting average off the hit was 170. Sorry, that's insane. That's the whole draft philosophy and what I've talked about. I talked about it a lot when we were talking about the NFL, and I think the NFL or in the NBA aren't the same in terms of like team needs versus best player, but they're the same in like me saying in the NFL I was bashing every team that didn't take Justin Fields is that if you're this high in the draft, you're not sitting there like the Hawks. We'll go with the Hawks. When they took DeAndre Hunter, was it the right pick? Probably now you can look back at it and say there were some better players in the draft. It wasn't a terrible pick. I'm not sitting there at 4, 5, 6, 7 and being like, I'm going to take the safe pick here. I want to take the guy who has the massive potential. If it busts, that's why I love guys like Mo Bamba when they're coming out. Like I love guys like James Wiseman. I still stick with James Wiseman because his potential is massive. That is why I love players like that, and why I'm so high.
Imagine though if they had taken LaMelo. That's the problem. That is the problem because like
you can make this case for LaMelo too. LaMelo was the unsafe. Considering to most people, James Wiseman was the safer pick than LaMelo because I think there was more of a majority of people that thought that
an athletic 7-footer. It's hard to miss as an athletic 7-footer versus a wiry, long kid with attitude who may be a distracted player.
Yeah, I agree. I think
there wasn't falling. There were a lot of narratives you could preach on that side. I agree.
And that's why when we talk about Kuminga, and we've talked about him a lot, is that you would look at me and be like, yeah, but Kuminga has massive upside. But I disagree. I don't think that Kuminga does have massive upside. I think that, and the risk management you have to look at, especially when we talk about the Warriors, is maybe the Warriors go against everything I just said because the Warriors are in a win now mode. We want to win it. It's Steph's last year of his contract. There are starting to be rumblings that Steph could leave the Warriors. So do you want to go and try to win a championship or get to a finals to convince him to stay? Just want to throw it out there that Joel Embiid and Steph Curry are really good friends. Come to Philly. There's just a massive question when it comes to the Warriors of what your draft.
Kuminga's upside could be spicy P. You could get someone who can attack the basket downhill. Again, athletic, long, can drive, can succeed as a slasher. I could totally see that, but at the same time, when will he be ready? Like you said, that timeline. That's why even here, if they get to 7, what would you think about Wagner here? Because I think that's a high end of the range for him.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
does he fit?
That might be the best fit.
I was gonna say I love Wagner's post the other day when he declared for the draft. His quote was, "If Mo can play in the leagues, I definitely can." I think he's a player. He comes in NBA ready. I know a lot of people question him, but he's going to come in and be able to step into that rotation right away and be an impactful player. So it definitely could be. The Warriors are a team I don't question on draft picks anymore. Who they take is usually the right pick, not last year. Could still be, honestly, if James Wiseman.
You gotta wait 10 years to find out. But right now, what it looks like is LaMelo Ball is going to be an All NBA talent for the next decade plus, and James Wiseman doesn't know how to play fucking basketball. But we'll find out in a couple of years.
Would we see? There's so many people they could take here. Like, it's book night an option to look at when you look at this team. Like, even if he's not a starter for them, he's definitely a rotation player. Like, he steps in again, another guy is going to make an impact right away when he steps into the league.
Yeah, can he score 13, 14 off the bench for you or pop off on a given night once a month? Sure, he absolutely could. But at the same time, like what? Okay, let me ask you this question: if we're breaking this team down to what would make the Warriors a championship team, what do they need to build? They have like you said, Steph Curry is one of the best off-ball scorers in the NBA. Have Clay, who is a top defender, great shooter from the outside. You have Wiggins, who is a great two-way player. You have Draymond, incredibly smart, but also incredible facilitator. So you have a unique piece to that offense, and you have a weakness at center. What would you want to do here to get yourself right? I would think you go for another wing. So if you need to slide down, you can slide down and play Draymond at the 5, and that might give you your best or most effective lineup next year.
I think there's one of two avenues. So one avenue is taking Wiseman and taking picks and trying to get a dominant center. That is like we heard the rumors when the Sixers were going down last year of Embiid getting traded there. Good Lord, thank that God that didn't happen. Yeah. Imagine Embiid with that. The other option is off the bench, a primary ball handler would be huge to elevate this team. They struggle. Their bench unit does struggle a lot. One, because they don't have enough talent on it. But two, because they have guys handling the ball who are primary wings who should be at most secondary ball handlers and should not have playmaking problems on them. And even with that starting lineup, Draymond and Steph are great playmakers and perimeter ball handlers, but Wiggins, I still question from time to time his decision making, which is valid. You need to make Wiggins what the Sixers have made Tobias, and is that quick decision making, not dribbling out the no, and that's what I'm saying. But you need to continue to be able to do that. And Wiggins would be huge to be able to plug in on the bench units if they had a bench point guard who could impact the game, like even if they want to trade these picks and look like a Jalen Brunson or something like that. If they want to add a guy like that to the bench team, I love Jalen Brunson. There's
no way the Mavs are going to have Jalen Brunson.
I know, but I'm saying a player in that mold is what they should be looking at. Let's go on.
Someone like Jared Butler.
That's where I was going to get to if their next pick.
Yeah.
Their next pick. So there's two outcomes. Either this is going to end up from 15 to, I believe, 19 is the farthest range. No, 15 to 18 is the farthest range it can go, because if they get the 7 or the 8 seed. Or it can fall into the lottery, and we're just going to assume they're going to be 13 or 14. That's what we'll just assume. So in that range, a book night could fall that far. On Tankathon, they have them taking Josh Giddey. If that happens, good Lord, if the Sixers don't trade up for Josh Giddey at 16, Daryl Morey fists. It's just, where do you think exactly they could look at this point? Is this a Isaiah Jackson range where you take a big man with some upside and maybe you look at somebody like that and improve the center position, or do you attack a primary ball handler?
I think here I would look for that ball handler. I think that I would lead with Jared Butler. I don't know if Jaden Springer would still be on the board, depending on who ends up bouncing where in the lottery. I think Springer and I was just thinking, I'm like, Springer's so young, but he has so much potential. But we know Jared Butler is an NBA ready guard. Yeah. And I think they would value that over Springer's youth right now. I would say, like, if I'm in that range, I'd be looking at Butler. I would even look at Davion Mitchell, who I've been a big shit talker of because I don't think he's top 10 talent. Yeah. But I think once you get to the teens, I think it's fair game. I would look Butler, I would look Mitchell, I'd look at a Josh Christopher, and I would and again, if Wagner's there, obviously Wagner.
Did you mention Sharif Cooper if he flies up some boards? He's late first round right now.
For some people.
If they fall into that 16, 17, 18 range, and he's going to be there.
Yeah.
Isn't that not the ideal fit for him?
He would thrive. He would be so fucking good.
You talk about him.
Okay, so Sharif Cooper is legit 6 foot. And that's a problem. His shooting percentages this year, I give an asterisk to, because he came in partway through the season and was day one asked to carry a team. Obviously, you're not going to have the groove. You're not going to know the offense through and through. And because of how bad the team was, he was asked to chuck so many situations. So his shot started off so incredibly poor. It didn't matter what he did. Also, the floor spacing on the team is terrible because there's no other legitimate scores on the team. So he was being doubled on, and he doesn't have a Trae Young-like shot, but he's not a 20% shooter from three, like Russell Westbrook. That's not his thing. But what he is one of the most gifted passers of this draft class. And I truly think that at the NBA level, with spacing, with shooters around him, would thrive so much.
Wait, you're talking about a guy who has playmaking abilities, great passer, not great shooting, but who can play in the Warriors system that is built on spacing. And that's what I mentioned. His name is that people would consider it a reach. I know you wouldn't, and I probably wouldn't either. I probably have him in that 10 to 20 range.
I mean, he has, again, it's that, like, what do you bring to the table? Why are you this high on my board? NBA level talent. He would come into the league as a top 15 passer. Like, I think he would be like probably in the like 12 to 15 range of top passer.
His passing is in the mold of what we looked at Trae Young coming out of college. Is that he's incredible passing. He's going to walk into the league and be one of the best passers in the league. This kind of might mold into the second round, but I know it's another guy I think we're both high on. Is Trey Mann is another guy, another ball handling guard who could fit right into the system. He's borderline first round for some people, which blows my mind a little bit. I think he definitely should be a first round pick no matter what. Another guy. We'll move into the second round. They have an abundance of maybe second round picks, whatever. Like they just have the Warriors have a ton of picks. They have let's see, Wilson Chandler 21 pick. So this
having the 16th overall. I don't see them having any seconds.
Oh, am I wrong?
They traded away their second round pick this year, and then they also traded away their other one for Toronto. So,
what we'll talk about is if they want to move into the second round and purchase a draft.
They did just re-sign cash considerations.
Cash considerations is back on a two-way deal, baby.
Yeah, so we could talk about that. We could talk
about some prospects that are second round who they could trade back for. They could even trade back and get a second round pick if they wanted to. Or if they are moving Andrew Wiggins in a deal for first round picks, they could get a second round pick in that deal for this draft. It's just Ricky's muted right now. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention his boy, Ayo Dosunmu. Any fit on this team?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
He's bench ball handler who can score. Yeah, sure, that would work for them. Would you take him over someone who I think that we both have kind of started to love a little bit more, maybe in Nashawn Highland, Bones action?
I mentioned him before the NCAA draft. I'm going to take a little pat when he's a really good NBA player.
Yep. Because you're not looked into him.
Yeah, Nashawn Highland he was last year he was looked at as a borderline first round prospect. And then this year I was like, watch out for them in the tournament. He's going to boost his draft stock. And then COVID hit and VCU couldn't play. And now nobody's talking about him when he's an elite scoring guard. He's incredible shooting. He has great playmaking. His passing needs a little bit of work, but if you put him in the Warrior system working with guys like Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, his passing is going to get better. He is I think he should be a first round pick. I don't understand. I get why he's in the second round because nobody's really talking about a VCU guard who didn't get to play in the tournament this year. But that's why you have to look deeper at these things, like a guy like Nashawn Highland, who is going to walk into the NBA and be a walking bucket. At his ceiling, if his passing doesn't improve, he has the chance to be a bona fide six-man who could be incredible and put up 12 to 13 a game, like a Shake Milton-esque is what I would look at him like. It's like at his worst, I think he's going to be a Shake Milton if he gets the years of kind of like patience that Shake got in the G League. He's an incredible scoring guard, great playmaking ability. I laugh that people don't have him on their boards.
I have to agree with you, Jake.
Shocker.
I completely agree with you on that, and I think that he would thrive on this team. But yeah, as far as like other second round guys who
Miles McBride.
I don't love Miles as much.
No, I don't love him, but you talked about earlier that Steve Kerr likes strong individuals who are leaders. And I know that we're sounding like ESPN talking about all these qualities. Miles McBride is a okay passer, okay play. He's okay at everything. He's not great at anything, but he's probably going to be a solid backup point guard. Like he's going to give you 10, 12 minutes a game, and he might not flash off the scoreboard, but he's not going to make many mistakes, and he's very good defensively. That is, I will take it back. The one thing he is really good at is on-ball defense. Off-ball leaves a little bit to be desired, but that is kind of the guy that Steve Kerr likes, is a Miles McBride. I think he was a fourth-year senior. I can't remember. I don't even remember, whatever it is. He was a late classman. He was either junior or senior, and he is a leader. So is that not somebody that the Warriors would kind of like?
Yeah, no, I understand. I actually have one to throw your way.
Okay.
What would you think about if Jeremiah Robinson Earl was falling? About pick 55 range.
Yeah.
I think value-wise at that point.
Yeah, you kind of have to at that point.
I understand where his weakness is on the shooting side, but at the same time, I think his body, his talent, and that Villanova pedigree goes a long way.
Villanova, people need to stop with this. We've seen so many Villanova players come in and just be studs. Like Josh Hart, late pick stud. Jalen Brunson, late pick stud. Eric Paschal wasn't as good, but he was good.
Last year he was a fucking wrecking ball.
Last year he was a wrecking ball. It's just he has to stay healthy, I think, is the thing with him. Yeah, he has to stay healthy. And putting Jeremiah Robinson Earl under a guy like Draymond who can learn how to play with his size almost. I think Draymond's 6'7", Robinson's
6'9".
Yeah, okay. So yeah, are they both 6'9"?
Draymond's probably 6'7".
No, that's why I said Draymond's 6'7". I would say Jeremiah Robinson Earl's 6'9". Yeah. Nice. I think that's a great. And the thing is with the Warriors, it's very hard for them to make a bad pick because the amount of learning and like experience you put them under in that system, it makes any player have the potential to grow. Yeah, you go.
That is sort of the problem is you look at the list of guys off the bench who have worked for the Warriors and no one else.
Yeah.
And I was reading through a post on Reddit about this. Like, remember when Ian Clark got his payday? Like,
oh God.
What happened to him? He's gone. He's all gone. Like, he doesn't even exist anymore. Like, the amount of guys who succeed on the Warriors because of the Warrior system, because of all the guys around them, because of the coaching staff, the trainers, the system in place on the offense and defensive side, I am just in that like, okay, who would fail on this team almost? Because not to like get down to, like praise them for whatever, but like you have to admit they get the most out of their role players, and that's something that has helped them sustain success.
Why they
find guys on the bench who are able to fill in those gaps for them. I do wonder if they let me just hypothetical this one. If they do take someone like let's say either a Butler or like a Wagner. So the two guys, maybe I'm too high on them, but whatever. Did you take Butler or Wagner with their teens pick? In the second round, could you see them going in on a defensive center? Like, I think if you're going for guard or wing in the first, and if you do buy a late pick, I could see them trying to get someone who could be a true rim protector.
It's clearly what they're looking for, too, with getting Jordan Bell back on the roster. They're like, good Lord, give us some rim protection outside of Draymond.
All the shit out of everyone. So, like, I don't know if that's really helping you. But, like, that's the thought that hit me. And I was like, all right, if they go to the second round, if they bought a pick, if they cash considerations this situation again, could you see them going after Neemias Queta? Someone like that.
Queta's somebody I think I'm higher on the most. Is that like?
Yeah, that's the problem. Is he now at the top of the second round? Whereas a month ago he might have been 45 to 60 range.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hadn't watched him like most of the year, and I saw him play like towards the end of the year. I'm like, he just blocks everything. It's like he reminds me of Dwight Howard now defensively. Like that he's gonna have foul trouble in the NBA. I think that's gonna be a clear problem. But he's just always there and makes everything harder at the rim for everybody he plays. Offensively, leaves a lot to be desired with him. But
you don't need it on this team.
Again, no, even if you don't need it on this team, but also, too, you put him on a team with such great passers that
he can finish.
What's our favorite spot on the court, Dave?
The dunker.
You put him in the dunker spot. Guess what? He's going to be good. All right?
Yeah.
He has the wingspan to be able to catch lobs over most centers or most wings when they get switched onto him, and then he's going to be on the rim the entire time. When he doesn't have to shoot on this team. Obviously, all he has to do is rebound and block, and that's all. That's literally all this team needs is James Wiseman to grow into his role, and if they get a backup center to block and rebound, that's it.
Yeah,
I think that's. You have anybody else you want to throw out? Or are you good?
Final question is if they do get the Minnesota Timberwolves pick, are they packaging it and trading it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's pretty much a lock. If they get picked 4 or 5, whatever it could be, 4 or 5.
See, we say that, but like I think they should package Wiggins and the pick.
If anything, you would have thought they would have done it last year, though. With number 2 overall. Like,
I think they tried. I think that's why it's interesting. I know the Bulls fans are like, they should have taken the Wendell Carter deal and moved back. I'm like, no, I don't think I still would have not done that. I think the top 3 in the last draft was such a bad.
I would have S to D for that deal.
Yeah, I mean, they would have taken Wiseman. That's the Bulls.
Would not have, and we would not have. Don't come at us with that slander.
They would have taken Wiseman because they traded Wendell and got another project center.
No, we wouldn't.
No, now you took another worse player and passed on Tyrese Halliburton and took Patrick Williams. So that'll do it for the show today. Again, exclamation point Discord in the chat, exclamation point Patreon if you want to help us monetarily. We'll be live on Monday for games live around 5 Central, 6 Eastern, a little bit after is when they go live. I don't know who's going to be live on Monday. I assume it's going to be basketball again. I think we're going to be very.
It's moved.
You guys can talk about that. I don't want to talk about Aaron Rodgers anymore. I'm tired of it. I think that it's going to be mostly NBA for a little while here because we're getting into the heart of the season. Again,
the playoffs.
Yeah, like the core. We'll go with that. We'll go with the only part that matters. Listen, I'll do a little part here.
Okay, coming from a guy who watches 162 games of pointless fucking baseball. I don't want to hear about the heart of the season. The only games that matter being
Here's why I'll say it is that the season has been so condensed this year, and so many games are dictated by just who's in and who's out that I think all of us at this point are just waiting for the playoffs when we can actually see. We haven't seen most of the teams at full strength for most of the year. Nobody knows what the Nets are going to be. Nobody knows what the Nets are going to be because they played 7 games with all 3 players.
You can kind of connect the dots though and be like, well, that's 3 MVP candidates on one team. That's probably going to be pretty good.
Pretty good. But maybe not as good as the Sixers. We'll see you guys on Monday. Voice in my head, hold on. And Ricky and I are doing NFL next Thursday because the schedule comes out. We'll be talking about how the Saints will win the division once again in the NFC South. Sorry, I made myself laugh.
Dan Darnold's coming for you.
Dan Darnold's not what? Oh, Sam Darnold. Okay, yeah. No, he's worst quarterback in his division before, still the worst quarterback in his division. We will see you guys on Monday. Don't know who's going to be on. It might be Dave and I again. We haven't talked in like a month and a half. It's been a long time. We'll see you guys on Monday, and I hope everybody has a great day.
WPN.